Hello, my dear students. This is Mrs. Shayma Gharib, and today's lesson about negative integers and temperature. Let's start by revising some rules before we watch any video. First, you have to sit in a quiet place. You should have your pen and a piece of paper to take notes and to solve questions. You should pause the video after each question, then you try to answer on your own. Then you play the video to check your answer and to understand the question in case you get a wrong answer. Are you ready? Let's start. Let's start by revising some simple sequences. The first one, we have 8, 7, then 6. What's going on in this sequence? What is the term-to-term rule? We are subtracting 1 each time. From 8 to the 7, minus 1, then minus 1, then minus 1, it will be 5, then minus 1, it will be 4. What about the second sequence? We have 3, 2, 1, which also subtracting 1 every time. So when we subtract 1 from 1, it will give me 0. When we subtract 1 from 0, which means count backward, what is the number just before 0? It is negative 1. Then when we subtract 1 more, it will be negative 2. When we subtract 1 more, it will be negative 3. So when we count down by 1, we are going to find that there will be negative numbers after the 0 when we count backward by 1. So this is a number line here. It has numbers from 0 to 10, as you can see, and there are some numbers in between, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as you can see, the numbers is getting bigger from left to right. These numbers are called positive numbers. We can also put this sign, plus sign, then VE for the word positive. Okay, on the other side of the number line, we are going to find negative numbers. And the numbers is going smaller. So negative numbers, we can say negative and VE for negative numbers. We have 0, then negative 1, then negative 2, then negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, and negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, then negative 10. Look at this number line. Now it has positive and negative numbers. As you can see, numbers is going bigger from left to right, which means the smallest number we can see here on this number line is negative 10. So negative 10 is the smallest number here. Then negative 8 is bigger than negative 10. Negative 6 is bigger than negative 8. Negative 4 is bigger than negative 6. And of course, it's bigger than all the numbers before it. And negative 2 is bigger than all of these negative numbers. Then the 0. The 0 is bigger than any negative number. Okay? Then 1 is bigger than all the previous, and so on. So any positive number, we can say that any positive number is bigger than any negative number. Is this clear? Now, let's see. This is the sign, which means the negative 10 is smaller than negative 8, and so on, as we said before. Is this clear now? Now, we'll say something about this lesson. What is the biggest negative integer? So I don't mean on this number line. I mean at all. What is the biggest negative integer at all? As we said, this is a 0, then the negative integer just comes just before the 0 is the biggest negative number, which is negative, what do you think? Negative 1. So negative 1 is the biggest negative integer. What about the smallest negative integer? So can you tell what is the smallest one at all, not on this number line? So we cannot tell. Why? Because numbers have no end. So we can we cannot say which negative number is the smallest, but we can say which negative number is the biggest, which is -1. Now remember that any positive number is greater than any negative number, and the 0 is greater than any negative number. And -1 is the greatest negative integer. Is this clear? This information is really important to know, so please keep it in mind. Now let's compare some numbers. We have -15 and 15. So -15, of course, is smaller than 15. 1 and -20. So we said any positive number is greater than any negative number, so 1 is greater than the -20. -10 and -3, so -10 is smaller than -3. Do you remember the number line? Now we are going to arrange these numbers in increasing order. And increasing order means to start from the smallest to the greatest. And we can also say in ascending order. So increasing order and ascending order both have the same meaning. So these numbers here, the smallest number here is number, think of it, then it's -10, then -7, then 10, and the biggest one is 70. Arrange these numbers in decreasing order, and decreasing means we are going to start with the biggest number. And we can also say descending order. So decreasing order and descending order both have the same meaning. This is the sequence we have, and we said decreasing means descending. We are going to start with the biggest number. Which one of these negative numbers is the biggest? It is -2 is the biggest one here. Then -3, then -7, then -12, which is the smallest number here. So the greatest is -2 and the smallest is -12. Now let's talk about temperature. The unit of measuring temperature is called Celsius degree, and it has this sign, the C for Celsius and this small circle on the top, it is for the degree. And it's really important to put the unit when we write temperatures. Now, find the temperature that is 4 Celsius degrees colder than. What the meaning of colder? Colder means less, or we are going to count back. So every time we are going to count back by 4. So the first temperature I have is 4. So if the temperature is 4, then the other temperature, which is 4 colder than 4, it means I'm going to count back by 4, or 4 less than 4, which means 0. 2, if the temperature is 2, so when we count back by 4, let's count back together. Before the 2 is 1, then 0, then -1, then -2. So it will be -2 Celsius degree. Now, if the temperature is 0, then the temperature that is 4 Celsius degrees colder will be, let's count back by 4, before 0, -1, -2, -3, and -4. -2, if the temperature is -2, we are going to count back by 4. Let's count together. Before the -2, what do you think? -3, -4, -5, then -6. And if the temperature is -5, let's count back by 4. So it will be -6, -7, -8, and -9. So -9 is 4 degrees colder than negative 5. Is this clear now, the meaning of colder? Now, let's try the temperature that is 5 Celsius degrees warmer than. What the meaning of warmer? Warmer means more, 5 degrees more, or we are going to count on or counting forward. So let's start. If the temperature is 4, then the other temperature, which is 5 degrees warmer or more, equals 9. If the temperature is negative 8, then the temperature that is 5 degrees warmer, we are going to count forward or count on from negative 8. So what is just bigger than negative 8? Negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3. Okay, is this clear? Now, if the temperature is 0, then 5 degrees warmer will be 5. Negative 2, let's count forward. The number just is 1 bigger than negative 2 is negative 1, then 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. Now, let's do the last one. If the temperature is negative 5 and we want to find the temperature that is 5 degrees more, so let's start. Negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, then 0 degrees. Is this clear now? Now let's fill in the blanks. 5 degrees colder than 3 degrees is, so it means the temperature is 3 and we need to find another temperature that is 5 Celsius degrees colder, which means I'm going to count backward. So let's count backward. Before 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, then negative 2. So negative 2 is 5 Celsius degrees colder than 3. Okay. Now let's see the second question. The temperature was negative 5 Celsius degrees. Then it's rising by 12 degrees, which means it's getting warmer. It's getting bigger. We are going to count forward. How many steps? 12 steps. Then the new temperature now will be, what do you think? Let's count forward and find out. From the negative 5, so we have negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So when we move forward 12 degrees from the negative 5, it will be 7 Celsius. Okay? Now fill in the blanks. 5 degrees less than negative 5, which means the temperature is negative 5 and we are going to count backward by 5. Let's count backward. Backward means less. So what is the number just before the negative 5 or less than negative 5? Negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10. So it will be negative 10. Negative 6 Celsius degrees is 3 degrees less than what? Which means negative 6 is smaller than another temperature. And this temperature is bigger than the negative 6 by 3. So I'm going to count forward, starting from the negative 6. So it will be negative 5, negative 4, then negative 3, which means negative 3 is 3 degrees more than negative 6. Or negative 6 is 3 degrees less than negative 3. Of course, negative 6 is less than negative 3. Now let's talk about difference between temperatures. How to find the difference between two temperatures. And remember that the unit of measuring temperature is Celsius degrees. And this is the sign of it. And never ever forget to write the sign of the or the unit of measuring any temperature. Now, this is a number line. It has some temperatures. Let's start by these two temperatures, the 2 and the 8. What is the difference between them? And the difference means the space between these two numbers on the number line, or how many jumps between these two numbers, or subtracting the smallest number from the biggest number. So let's count on the steps and find out. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the difference between the 2 and the 8 is 6 Celsius degrees. Let's try another two temperatures, the -2 and the 2. What is the difference between -2 Celsius degree and 2 Celsius degrees? We are going to find the space or the distance or the jumps between these two temperatures. Let's count on 1, 2, 3, 4. So the difference between these two temperatures, the -2 and the 2, is 4 Celsius degrees. Let's try another 2. I have -10 and -2. What is the difference between -10 and -2? Let's count on the spaces and see. 1, here it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so the difference between -2 and -10 is 8 Celsius degrees. Now I will ask you some questions. Look at these differences, and what do you notice about the difference between each two temperatures? All the differences are positive numbers. So when we find the difference between any two temperatures, please pay attention to this point. It's really, really important that the difference between any two temperatures is always positive number. Is always positive number. This is the first. What do you think here? Let's look at the first two temperatures. The difference between the 2 and the 8 is 6. Is the same as subtracting 2 from 8. And the difference between -10 and -2, both temperatures are negative, and the difference between them is same as subtracting 2 from 10. 10 minus 2 gives 8. What about these two? One of them is positive, which is 2, and the other one is negative. The difference here is 4. So it is the sum of 2 and 2. 2 plus 2 gives 4. So we can say that to find the difference between two temperatures, first, it must be a positive number. Second, it could be the sum of the two numbers or the difference between the two numbers. So what do you notice here? When it is the sum and when it is the difference. When we have two positive temperatures, the difference was subtracting the two numbers. And when there are two negative temperatures, the difference is subtracting the smallest from the greatest. But when one of them is positive and the other one is negative, so the difference is adding these two temperatures. Is this clear? Let's see in the next slide. We have a table here. It has town A and town B and the difference in temperatures. The temperature in town A is 20 Celsius degrees and town B is 10. So what is the difference between 20 and 10? Of course, it is two positive numbers. We just subtract, so it will be 20 minus 10, which is 10. Okay? Now, if I have a positive temperature, which is 2, and The other temperature is -4. So when we have one of the temperatures is positive and the other one is negative, do you remember what did we say? We add the two numbers. So this is number 2 and this is number 4. When we add them together, I will get 6. And please remember that the difference is always a positive number. Okay, so when we have one positive and the other one is negative, we just add the two temperatures. Now I have two temperatures. One of them is negative and the other one is negative as well. So both of them are negative. So when we have two negative temperatures, we find the difference by subtracting. 8 minus 5 equals 3. Okay, so when both are negative or both are positive, we just subtract. When one of them is positive and the other one is negative, we add. Now let's do the next example. Negative, positive, then we add. So it will be 7. 1 and -1, positive and negative, then we'll add. It will be 2. 7 and 0 will subtract, so it will be 7. Negative and negative, we are going to subtract. So 15 minus 7 is 8. Is this clear now? Please take notes and remember these rules. And never forget the temperature unit, okay? Because you may lose the mark if you didn't write the unit. Let's remember together the difference in temperature is always a positive number. When the two temperatures are negative, we subtract to find the difference. If one of the temperatures is positive and the other one is negative, we add them to find the difference. And never forget the temperature unit, which is Celsius degree. Now, are you ready to solve some questions? Let's start. Comparing -8 and 5, of course, -8 is smaller, -13 and -14, so -13 is one more bigger than -14, so of course it's bigger than -14. Arrange these numbers in increasing, and we said increasing is same as ascending, start from the smallest. So the smallest one here is, let's think together, and then you answer the next question. Arrange these numbers in decreasing order. And decreasing means starting from the biggest, and it's the same as descending. So for the first one, the smallest number here is -5, then -3, then 0, then 2 is the biggest, and -5 is the smallest. For the second one, the biggest number here is 8, then 2, then 0, then -4. So the biggest number is 8 and the smallest number is -4. Find the temperature that is 6 Celsius degrees colder. And colder mean we are going to count backward or less. So the first temperature, when you count back by 6 starting from the 1, so it will be -5. When you start to count backward by 6 from the 6, you are going to reach 0 Celsius degrees. When you count back from the 0 by 6 steps, you are going to reach -6. And when you count back from -9, it will be -10, -11, -12, -13, -14, -15. Now, when you count back from the 2, it will be 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, then -4. Okay, so -5 is 6 degrees colder than 1. 0 is 6 degrees colder than 6. -6 is 6 degrees colder than the 0. And -15 is 6 degrees colder than -9, and so on. Now find the temperature that is 7 Celsius degrees warmer than these temperatures. So warmer means I'm going to count forward or count on by 7. After the negative 1 will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. From the negative 3, it will be negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. From the negative 12, it will be, what do you think? Negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, and negative 5. From the negative 9, it will be negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, and then negative 2. From the negative 7, we're going to reach the 0. Okay, so 6 is 7 degrees warmer or higher than the negative 1. And 4 is 7 degrees higher than the negative 4. And negative 2 is 7 degrees higher than the negative 9. And of course, the 0 is 7 degrees higher than the negative 7. Is this clear? Now, let's fill in the blanks. 3 degrees more than negative 2. More than means count forward. So it will be 1. Let's count together. After the negative 2, we have negative 1, 0, then 1. 12 degrees is 5 degrees more than, which means the 12 is more than this number by 5, which means this number is 5 less than the 12. So 5 less than the 12 is 7. The difference between negative 12 and negative 3, both of them are negative temperatures, and we said when both temperatures are negative, we just find the difference between the two numbers, or we just subtract. So 12 minus 3 equals 9. And remember, the difference is always a positive number. The difference between 8 and negative 8, one of them is positive and the other one is negative. Then we are going to add both numbers. 8 plus 8 equals 16 Celsius degrees. And remember, the difference between temperatures is always positive number. Now, look at these two questions. The temperature was 6 degrees Celsius degrees, then it was fallen by 10 degrees. So it was 6, then it's getting backward or lower by 10 degrees. So when you go 10 degrees lower than 6, it will be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. The temperature today is 19. It's warmer than yesterday by 10 degrees, which means today is higher than yesterday. By how many degrees? By 10, which means yesterday it was colder or lower than 19 by 10. So 10 degrees lower than 19 will be 9. Is this clear? Let's see another question. The difference in temperature between London and Paris is 7 Celsius degrees. So this is the difference between the two towns. If the temperature in Paris is 3 Celsius degrees, and this is the temperature in Paris. So we only know the temperature in Paris, but we don't know the temperature in London. Is this clear? Now, what could the temperature be in London? So we only know the difference between the two towns, and we know the temperature only in Paris. So this is the temperature in Paris. So if the difference is 7 between the two towns, the difference could be 7 higher than Paris or lower, colder or warmer. So if the temperature in London is 7 warmer than Paris or higher than Paris. So 7 more than 3 will be 10 Celsius degrees. So could be the temperature in London. What if it was 7 colder than Paris? Because the difference didn't mention, is it colder or warmer? So it could be colder, it could be warmer. Nobody knows. So if it is 7 colder than Paris or 7 colder than 3, let's count backward and find out. So 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, then -4. So it could be -4 Celsius degrees or 10 Celsius degrees. This is the end of our lesson today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any question, please feel free to leave a comment and I will answer you as soon as possible. Please remember that your feedback is highly appreciated. Thank you very much and have a nice day.